Comrade Chairman, Comrade Leader, Auntie Joyce, distinguished guests, friends, and fellow colleagues of the People's National Congress, a very good evening to you. I'm very honored and privileged to share this evening with you in celebrating the birthday of a true patriot and one of the greatest sons of this soil. Mr. Hoyte is a man of dignity and integrity, and these are the greatest assets one can ever aspire to achieve. He stands out amongst us as a great statesman and leader, whose principles and virtues remain unflagging and unflinching despite the odds and evils that confront him every day. Prior to his ascension to the presidency in 1985, he has been an integral part of a government that has helped to make the small man a real man. A government that sought to address the plight of the rabble of society after we fought and gained independence from our colonial masters. We have seen the construction of the Demerara Harbour Bridge, the Kanji Bridge, the National Cultural Centre, the Linden-Soos-Dyke Highway, the Quarantine Highway, the numerous farm-to-market roads across the country, the numerous housing schemes, the MMA scheme, the Earth Station, the New Amsterdam Technical Institute, and the multilateral schools, to name a few. Also, under the loving and caring policy of that administration, we all enjoyed free medical attention and free education. While at the helm of government, after the demise of the founder leader, Mr. Hoyte embarked on the economic recovery program, which saw a big boom in our economy. The prosperity that followed caused all our regional neighbors to exclaim, "The sleeping giant has awakened." And we were on the road to becoming the envy of the Caribbean. Best of all, I consider free education as one of the greatest achievements of the People's National Congress, as it produced numerous skilled and professional young people, without whom today our country would have been thrown into the abyss. I stand here as a proud product of that caring policy of free education. I myself was born in Firish Village in a poor family of 9 children, where my father, a schoolmaster, was the only breadwinner, and my mother, a housewife, engaged in the colossal task of stretching every penny to make ends meet. Our poor economic status dictated that we mend our clothes and boots as we could not afford new ones. We often had to go fishing as we could not pay the bills at the grocery store. On weekends, we would go to the Firish foreshore to gather firewood, as cooking with gas and kerosene was beyond our reach. So grim was the situation that sometimes I wondered if we will be able to complete high school, despite my father's persistence that education is the key to success. But thanks to the People's National Congress and free education, all 9 of us completed secondary school. And thanks to the People's National Congress, 7 of us enjoy the benefit of a university education. And thanks to you, Desmond Hoyte, I was afforded an opportunity to pursue studies at the Kyiv Aeronautical University in the Ukraine, where I obtained my master's degree in aeronautical engineering and my private pilot's license. My profound gratitude to you, Comrade Leader. Your years of service and sacrifice for the children of this nation will be remembered for generations to come. But I have reasons to be extra grateful to you, Comrade Leader, for while studying in Kyiv, I fell in love with a lovely young lady from that city. Today, she is my wife and the love of my life. I gratitude you. Comrades, Mr. Hoyte is a man of whose class and caliber this nation has seldom known. His love transcends all boundaries. He is a man who knows no race, So it was not by accident that he was called Desmond Passad. Mr. Hoyte stands out as a man of impeccable character and great rectitude. His guiding principles and virtues have helped him to comfortably survive the gauntlet of malicious criticisms from those who try every day to traduce his unblemished character. But if you will find any solace in this, comrade leader, even Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross. So why should you expect a better score? Who you are is shouting so loudly that we can hardly hear what your critics are saying. Comrade leader, you have made my dreams come true. I stand here as a proud product of your astute leadership, your sedulous approach to nation building, and your decades of dedication to the development and progress of all Guyanese. I salute you and I hold you in the highest esteem. You have served your country well thus far. Comrades, I'm only one of the thousands who benefited from his government, and I'm sure that there are thousands more out there who are craving for the same fortune. On that score, comrade leader, we await with great alacrity your return to office after the upcoming general elections. Comrades, I can go on, but I'm not the main speaker tonight. Comrade leader, a happy birthday to you. May the good Lord bless and keep you. We love you.
Thank you, Archie. My only regret is that he wasn't called Desmond Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite to the microphone our guest of honor, Mr. Hugh Desmond Hoyte.
Thank you very much. Master of ceremonies, they are kind and caring and gentle people gathered here this evening. I shall be brief. I'd like to tell you that is because I've been told that brevity is the spice of wit, but that will not be true. I shall be brief because my wife told me to be brief. And also she told me to eschew all things political. And since I have to live in the same house with her for the rest of my life, I think I'd better pay attention to what she has to say. I want to thank John and Artie for all the wonderful things and cards also they've said about me. But I get very worried when these glowing tributes are paid. Because I remember some years ago in the election campaign, the chairman of the meeting carried on at great length about the virtues and the abilities and the wonderful talents of my colleague whose meeting it was. And having spoken all these things, this fellow, wonderful fellow, in a photo finish with God. And then he paused and looked at my friend and smiled maliciously and said, "John, have I told these good people all the things you asked me to say about you?" And I always keep dreading that one of these days somebody will ask me such a question. The fact that I'm celebrating another birthday, or as the newspapers would say, I passed another milestone, is really not too very important. I think that this function was organized by way of comfort, to make me feel good that after all, getting old is not such a bad thing. And I should take solace in the fact that I still have a few friends around who are there to support me as I get frailer and frailer. The great virtue of getting on in years is that you look wise. And if the top of your head gets a certain sheen about it, well then you're deemed absolutely to be wise. I would like to invoke the words of a very famous American baseball player, Yogi Berra, who had a wonderful way with words. Yes. Magical unorthodoxy in the use of words. And when a certain function was arranged for him, he said that he wanted to thank the people for making that function necessary. So I want to thank all of you for making this function necessary. Now, necessity can make something that's not too good innocent, but I don't think it can make it praiseworthy. And this evening, I hope that this function is not only innocent, but praiseworthy. Dylan Thomas, the Welsh poet, when he reached the age of 30, wrote a poem which started, it was my 30th year to heaven. And I think it's a comforting thought to know that as you make your progress towards some point, you're really approaching a very sure aim, which is heaven. But as you get there, you have a problem, because you have to enter the pearly gates. And there is St. Peter waiting to be satisfied that you can enter. And they tell the story of this, that there was this queue, long queue outside the pearly gates, and a young man of no more than 18 or 19 came from way back, bypassed everybody, went up to St. Peter, who promptly ushered him in through the gates of heaven. Now in that queue were two missionaries who between them had served for over 100 years in various missionary fields throughout the world. And they got a little agitated. And they went to St. Peter and said, but this is not fair. We are here patiently waiting our turn. And here is a young man who could not have done very much in his life. He's only 18 or 19. We have served over 100 years in the Lord's vineyard. And Peter looked at them and shook his head sagely and said, you see that young man? He has put the fear of God into the hearts of more people than you have done in your 100 years of missionary endeavor. You see, he's a minibus driver. Now, of course, the minibus driver is today the symbol of everything that's indisciplined and irresponsible in our country. Symbol of anarchy. But really he's the least of our problems, because there are other forces and entities which create greater havoc, which have deprived so many people of the right to happiness, and have driven our country into a state almost of despair. But that, I see my wife looking at me, has to be the subject of another speech, probably at the Square of the Revolution. I have followed a political career, unfortunately. Some people would say that that was an incautious, unfortunate, stupid choice. But the fact of the matter is that it is so. And a very good friend of mine, Hubert Jack, now deceased, used to say that we politicians are necessary for the well-being of society, not because we do any good, but because we provide entertainment for the citizenry. The citizens pay their taxes and they demand that their politicians should entertain them. And so we go about making speeches, cutting ribbons, kissing babies, and so on, all for the delectation of the citizens. But at functions like this, also attending dinners, particularly birthday dinners. And we are expected to sing for our dinner, sing for our supper. Unfortunately, I explained to the sponsors of this dinner that I'm a terrible singer. I'm tone deaf, I can't carry a tune, but I would settle for talking a bit or rambling a bit. And I told them a story of my youthful days in primary school many moons ago, when for some reason I never discovered, my teacher entered me in the school singing contest. And there were two of us in this category. The two of us happened to be the youngest persons in the class, so we were in a category by ourselves. And I had to sing first. The song was a song called Who is Sylvia, from one of Shakespeare's plays. It's a very difficult song. Many accomplished singers fall down on it. So I sang. And after I was finished, the adjudicator sat in a very pensive mood. And the seconds ticked by. And then my little school friend said, "Sir, shall I start now?" And the adjudicator said, "No, no, no, Sonny, you have won." So much for singing, so much for paying for my supper by way of song. But you know, political life has its good points, has its charms, benefits, though I can't think of any of them right now, but I do that. But one of the things we learned is always to be in the good books of media people. And I look around and see so many of them here, so I'd like to say a good word about them to their faces. You know, some years ago, a certain prime minister gave out that he was going to walk on water. So the media foregathered to see this wonderful event. And the poor guy did walk across the river. And the next day, the headlines in the national newspaper was, "Prime Minister cannot swim." I want to really say how much I enjoyed this evening's dinner company for gathered here today, which tells me something which I've always known, that the great thing about life is human relations and being able to be in the company of fellow human beings and feel comfortable. And I feel comfortable here this evening. We always have ideals in life towards which we strive. I have striven over the years to try and do something for the country, play my part in its development. I'm sure that some of the decisions I took were wrong, some were right, but they were always focused upon doing what was good, what was beneficial. And I will continue to do that. I don't think I need to spell out in detail my various beliefs about the economy, about our society, about human relations in our society, and about the way that we should go and what kind of ideals we should be striving after in this great country of ours. But what I do want to say is that I will continue to be very active in this field. It may well be that the time will come when some of the young bulls will put me out of the pasture. But that is another matter. So until that time, I will continue to strive in the political field to achieve with the people of this country the creation of a society that is free and open, where we can express our thoughts without fear that anybody could come and knock us on the head or haul us off to prison. A society in which people can have comfortable and secure lives, to build a country that is prosperous and that affords every citizen an opportunity to be the best person that he or she can. I think that's an ideal worth striving after. And as I pursue that ideal, I realize that one needs faith. And I was reading a little magazine only this morning, and I came across a verse which I think is a good theme upon which to end my remarks. It's a poem written by a man named Mark Harmon. Don't know who he is, but God bless him. Entitled A Faith to Stand. And I like the words, I like what I read, I'd like to share them with you. Lord, give me the faith to stand in the midst of men who doubt. Give me the faith to stand in the midst of men who shout it cannot be done. Give me the faith to stand in the midst of men who cannot see. Give me the faith to stand in the midst of men who wish to flee a victory almost won. Give me the faith to stand and invest my life in dreamless men. Give me the faith to stand and dream and work and win. That is the faith I pray for. That is the faith I pray that all of us will have to work together and to win together in this great country.